VU meters on a VHS machine. How nice is that? And you can see the cassette reels from the front too. Hello and welcome to another Mr. Beats Bike video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at a Panasonic VHS. It's the AG6200 or 6200 if you like, this was a professional use machine, dates from around about 1985-ish, thereabouts. And there was actually another model in this range, the AG6100, and that was a playback only machine, so no VU meters and a couple of other bits and pieces missing, because obviously it didn't record, it didn't need the recording options. The other thing that's a bit unusual about this is that even though it's a PAL machine, it does actually have the ability to play back NTSC, which is really, I mean, for the mid-80s is really quite unusual. Yeah, we'll have a look at that. I don't know if I've got an NTSC VHS cassette. I've got plenty of beta, but no VHS, I think. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So, what is it? It's basically a VHS deck. It's sort of, I'm probably going to get ragged for this because I always get it wrong. I think it's a K-series deck. I don't know. I'm always a bit vague on these early decks. You get to the G deck and the K decks and all the rest of it, you know, it's a bit more sort of obvious. But these decks, from what I can see from the manual, are like the Panasonic NV733, I think it is, which is the crazy machine with the LCD display for the counter, and the VFD for the clock, and I think it's got LED display as well. So it's a bit of a crazy machine, and I do actually have one that'll be on the channel fairly soon, I think. But this is, like I say, the professional version of those VHS decks, and as I say, used for duplication. And you can already see what's one of the issues with it. But it's from Alex. Hi, Alex. Hope all's well with you. Basically, he was saying that playback was fine, picture was good. Using the jog control would basically cause all sorts of things to happen. There's an issue with fast forward rewind as well, which would cause the machine to basically shut down. You power cycle it, be fine. He did put a bit more detail than that, but that's basically what the problem is. I believe the lamps, the VU meters, have gone. I do actually have some, which is cool. So that's something. So let's have a little look around it. So usual headphone sockets, 1/4 inch, tracking, slow tracking. This is a 4-head machine, by the way, so it should have really good stills and is designed to have good stills. It is linear stereo, so not hi-fi stereo. It predates that just. It has Dolby noise reduction for what that's worth. Yeah, it's fairly sort of standard sort of pro machine, really. Obviously used in duplication because it's got number 3 on it. So it's obviously 3. Up to 500 could be daisy chained together. So on the back, got the remote connector. So that's an AG, I I think it's AG600, I think it is, wired remote that brought a lot of the functions out from the deck to the remote. Got RF. I believe this is for an additional RF or for an RF adapter, but this has RF anyway. Then we've got the various ins and outs, including time code in and out. We've got audio left and right, video outs, video in. Then we've got the time code. So the time code would use one of the channels, the audio channels. Really very cool, actually. Auto backspace, that's quite cool as well, that you can turn that on or off. That's for when you press record, and then pause or stop. Pause, it will do a backspace, so you don't get the sort of distortion between recordings. That's what that's for. I don't think I explained that very well, did I? Anyway, it's cool. You know what I mean. So let's take the top off it. It's fairly scratched. It's obviously been well used. Alex actually had this for 25 odd years. It didn't see a huge amount of use. So that's cool. So I'm seeing little white bits on the rubber, which is a bit of a sign maybe belts aren't that wonderful. So forehead design. Heads don't look too bad, need a good clean. And it all looks pretty okay. LED end sensor. Lamps, which is good. Obviously we've got the problem with the the tape band. I don't know what I'll do with this. It's pretty mangled. Obviously when Alex sent this wasn't poking through the front, but in transit sort of unpacked it. It's just sitting there. So yeah, that was actually quite useful to see. There's a connector here which pulls out, so we might just investigate that. Okay, got some quite interesting stuff going on there. Looks like that's RF, almost like for a modulator, but maybe that's what's going on. Yeah, so probably you take this out, drop that down, plug in the modulator and the RF, and then away you go. But like I say, it already has RF by the looks of it. RF out. This transformer, wow! I mean that's exceptional. Have a toroid transformer. Look at the quality of that. That's amazing. So lots of belts in it. I expect these lamps to be gone as well. I don't have replacements for those. I think they're exactly the same as the meters. So I will get some more and change those. I'll probably just change them anyway because, although they look okay, they do actually look okay, but no, I'll see. But yeah, so like I say, bog standard power supply. It does actually have multi-voltage, and like I say, it has NTSC playback only, but that is pretty impressive for the generation of machine this is. So yeah, it's quite interesting as well. Yeah, so this is for, I think this is for looping, so for like signage or presentations where you just want to loop round and round the same recording, these switches will control that. I think, I might be wrong, but I believe it has that capability anyway. So yeah, I suppose we ought to power it on, and am I going to power it on? yeah, let's power it on. Just see what's going on with it. Okay, so I changed my mind. I thought I'd have a look underneath first. Quite a lot of screws to take out. They're all red for the actual base board. And you might have noticed, incidentally, that the back was a bit riveled. And that sort of over time, with heat and cold and whatever, these can push out. And just releasing the screws here, it makes it drop back. So that's done. And also notice we've got these horrible black pads as well, which don't seem to have suffered. Not like in the Sonys, but it's just interesting to see Panasonic doing the same thing. So it isn't just Sony that did that. Not that you'd expect Sony to be the only one to do that, but you know what I mean. Don't pick on Sony just because they modified boards, because I've had people do that. It's sort of very similar to the consumer decks, but there is more going on. I mean, it's certainly a lot more solid. I mean, it's such a solid sort of built machine. The belts are okay, but you can see there is slack there, and they are tired, so we'll attempt to change those. I think I have a belt kit for this, not specifically for this machine, but it is common to consumer decks at the time, the belts, relatively. Obviously, no capstan motor drive belt, because it's a direct drive motor, which you'd expect. It's a pro machine. Then we've got the real motor here, and an idler on the other side. I have actually got an idler for this, I think, as well. So that's cool. I am just spotting memory cap as well. There, that NEC cap. So obviously remembers sort of counter that, obviously because it's a pro deck, there's no tuner, there's no timer as such. Obviously it can be controlled by a timer, but yeah, so well, I mean, it's a brilliantly built machine. This all folds out. See the hinges there. So to get that out, you have to take that bar off and then take out the red screws. Panasonic always use red screws for where you remove panels. Oh gosh, that's a bit clunky, wasn't it? And these lovely little prints of screws. I think that's so cool. But yeah, I mean, it's a relatively easy machine to work on in many ways for its time. I mean, obviously there's a lot going on, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So I think what I'll do is I will put a screw in, just keep this from flapping about, turn it over, and we'll give it a go. Okay, so let's power it on. I have actually powered it on once before. So obviously no VU displays. Try set. Right, so it does the half or semi-wrap, and that is for the real-time counter. So it's reading pulses off the yeah, so the idler isn't brilliant, but it is working. And those lamps are good, which is nice. They actually look really very good. A little bit of noise there. So I'm going to try play. I don't expect it to. I think this tape might be long play. This machine is not long play. Yes, I didn't like that auto off. There we go. And the counter was going crazy. I don't know whether I can do that. If you look at the counter, going super fast, there's long play and auto off. So yeah, just power it off, power it back on there. No, I'll unlace. So it is actually, I mean, it's a good used machine. I mean, it's good clean as well, which I'll do, of course. And we'll change those lamps, change the idler, do the belts, give the tape path clean, and give it a dust out, and we should be somewhere near. Yeah, so let's crack on. So one thing I forgot to mention is the pinch roller. It looks wrong because a lot of Panasonics at the time had like a plastic sort of top to this. It sort of covered most of the top of the pinch roller and would be pushed on. But this is actually threaded, and this is just unscrews. That is so cool. That is just amazing, because those plastic tops had a real habit of breaking, and they sort of really end up almost gluing themselves so tightly to the metal. You try and put them off and they break. So that is amazing. That is so cool. So let's crack on. Okay, so I have to admit I have done a little bit off camera. I just had 5 minutes here or there this weekend, so I thought, well, I'll do a couple of the sort of more tedious jobs that aren't very sort of photo-friendly, content-friendly. One was to give it a jolly good clean, and it's come up beautifully. One thing I will say about cleaning these is I do tend to use quite a lot of this stuff, foam cleanser, but never on Panasonic stuff. Never use this on Panasonic stuff or anything similar, because what it will do is it'll take off all the lettering, and all of these decals will just be removed. What I actually used was a sponge, just with slightly soapy warm water on it, and just gave it a wipe over, and then dried it off with a dry cloth, and it's come up lovely. Really has. The rest of it I have actually used foam cleanser on. So the bottom cover there, that's actually the inside. It's immaculate, and the outside of it is great too. Top cover obviously has got scratches on it, but you'll see that in the fullness of time is actually not too bad. It's come up okay. Another thing I've done is I have cleaned the heads. You might have spotted that they were in quite a state, and still see little bits and pieces on there, to be honest. Obviously didn't want to go too hard, but they're a heck of a lot better, and that's the amount of muck I got off them. Really very mucky, so that's a good job done. Also been looking at belts, idlers. I thought I had a new idler, but I haven't. I've actually used one. I used it on the short play, long play machine. I think that had the large idler as well. But I have found tyres, so I'm happy to use a tyre, and I have got an idler there actually, which is good. It's used, but it's good, and has a new tyre on it. So yeah, so I think the next thing is we'll have a look at the idler. I want to do the belts as well. I haven't got this belt, but I will find one in the fullness of time. But it is working, so I'm not terribly worried. But yeah, let's crack on and have a look at this idler. So I think, and generally these professional machines are made a little bit easier to sort of access and service bits and pieces on. And judging by the red screws, I would assume that this front loading system literally just undo the 4 screws and it should lift off. Okay, let's see if I'm right. Need to unplug these. It's a fair old motor drive unit there, and probably should try and get these off a bit tidier than I'm actually doing. But, I did also clean the mirror. This is a mirror here. Maybe the front cover does have to drop down. That feels like it's captive on this side. Okay, well that's no real biggie. Screw here. I could look at the manual. I mean, that might have been an idea, but and as I get older, I do tend to look at manuals a bit more. But sometimes it's fun just to wing it. I'm going to take these bottom ones out first. Well, I'm going to loosen the bottom first. that's the way to say it. And great camera work here. Blimey, that's tight. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. So, main and screws. There's just 4 screws. I was sort of wondering how on earth this came off, but it is as one complete panel, electronics and all, which is sort of, in some ways, a bit like the sort of much more modern units. So you see the back of the VU meters there. Interested to see, because we need to change these lamps. They're the lamps. So yeah, we'll do those. Possibly. I'm still not convinced they've gone, even though it appears dark. I just wonder if they only light up and record, but we'll see. So idler. It's actually a bit different to that one, so I'll just change the tyre on that. It does have the rubber as well on the motor shaft, but I will probably just rubber renew that. It does look very shiny though. I just haven't got one. Then we've got the back tension. So I wish I had a back tension gauge. If you have one spare, yeah, right. But if you do, let me know. Yeah, I would love one. To be fair, it'd be very handy. I have beta ones, but no VHS. So yeah, so we need to mark up that so we can put the new one. I've got a new one. I think that's the right one for this. Probably will be. You can, if you use the right glue, you're not super glue, you need something a bit flexible. You can re-glue these, but this is pretty mangled, and I just think I'm going to put a new one on, and then I know it's good. So tiny bit of rust on there. Then we've got the pinch roller, which I have got. Will that screwdriver fit that? Yeah. Like I say, I love this design. It's much better. So yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so replacement tyres on. Drive seems really good, to be fair. So that's great. I've just given these a bit of a clean, because I didn't clean those when I did the heads and the ace head. The capstan was actually really good. I've just turned this guide round so the wear mark's not there, not that there was much of one there anyway. New pinch roller, so that's good. That's the tape opening. Now the other problem I do have, a very common problem on these decks, is this arm is the grease is seized up. Okay, so let's actually take this off. It isn't a terrible guide to align anyway, so I'm not too upset about doing it. So the spring locates in there. Okay, it's not my chosen grease, but it's the only grease I can find. So it's a bit of silicone grease. No, I think it goes the other way. Should have made a note of that, shouldn't I? Yeah, that's it. Oh, let's pop down. Nah, there is alignment on that. Yeah, of course there is. So that's just the bottom of the stop. So yeah, so I will have to align that. That's fine. It's just really looking for tape greasing, just so it runs properly as it exits. This will be up here somewhere. As it's exiting, it's not actually damaging the tape, so that's fine. I can live with that. We've pretty much done the top. We'll do those VU meters next and change those lamps, and well, give them a check as well. So let's change these lamps. They are one's hidden by this bracket, so I don't quite see. Oh, there we go. That one there, and then that one there. It does look as if they've been changed before as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak up the solder first of all, and then we'll put the new ones. Well, we'll remove the panel. There's only 2 screws, I think, to get that panel off. And then there's a hair on there. And then we should be able to put the new ones on. There we go. So it should be fairly free anyway. Yeah, I feel as if they've been soldered quite well actually. So, screw here. And screw here. I'm just wondering actually if I need to do anything with the meters themselves, or whether I have to remove the whole caboose. Wait, just see the lamps there, so they're not that difficult to get at. Okay, so I have just lifted them out, and I thought I pressed record and didn't. But I just lifted them out with tweezers. They were so well desoldered. So let's give them a quick check with the meter. No, we checked them in circuit, but let's just confirm they have gone pop. Yeah. And yeah, so both open circuit. That's what we thought. So these are actually a little bit bigger. They are electronically the same, but oh, I don't know. No, they're the same. So that's good. So I can actually show you. Me trying to get these things in. Let's tip that forward. If we can do it without removing the panel, then that's all good, because it does seem to be captive in quite a few places. It's not as simple as just lifting the board. There's a lot more going on. So if I can cheat a little bit, then I'll take that. And my thought is, maybe I can feed the wires through, and then it does feel like I'm bodging this, but I'm just trying not to pull it apart. More than I need to. So that's that one in. And the other one could be a little trickier, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. Oh. Oh no. There we go. I got them both in. Sort of. So, both in, both flush. So, put some solder on those. And if I haven't said it before, I will put a link to these lamps in the description, if I remember. And comment if I don't. And I'll put a link up. They're just off eBay, but they're from a half decent seller. Just want to roll a bit more. That pad seemed to lift when I pulled or just lifted the wire up. I will, as it did that, I will just check that the track is okay. Because obviously it has been repaired before, and yeah. Yeah, super. So let's get this back together. Yeah, I probably need to get front loading system back in place first, don't I? So front loading system's located. Plug back in the connectors. Just make sure that it's sitting flush, so give it a little bit of a wiggle, because there are little locating metal bits that need to find their home. And it's these screws here, slightly different to the normal Panasonic ones insofar as the washer is actually free. Front panel screws back in. Screws underneath. So one here and here. The top, which you can't see. So let's turn this back over, and I'm going to just take out the one screw that's holding the bottom board. Just have another look at these belts. Now, the belts do need changing, definitely. You can see there that belt is not good. But I don't have the right belts. I've gone through my collection. I've got some. I've got this big belt. I can probably sort out this belt as well. But this one I don't seem to have. But I have found a kit. So, from Domberg. So, well, I say kit, individual belts, but I can deal with that. They're not that expensive either. So I'm not going to change the belts in this video. These belts, like I say, they're passable. You can test the deck. We see what it all looks like. And yeah, we'll do a part 2, by which time I should have an NTSC tape as well. I don't have a VHS NTSC tape, so I only have beta, so yeah, I'd just like to see it playback NTSC, to be fair. So yeah, so I'm just gonna, well, give that a quick dust out, put all the screws back in, we'll turn it over and give it a test. Okay, so I have to confess I have tested this already, but let's power it on. There we go. Meters are looking great with those lamps. And I had a bit of a sort of scare that I might have damaged something when I took this off, as far as none of the front panel buttons would work. But what I've actually done is on the back there's a panel mode lock switch, which is like a panel lock switch. And in cleaning it, I've knocked it on. So when you knock it on, basically it locks the all the tape transport buttons. So yeah, that was not great. So let's give it a test. So unfortunately that idler tire is not doing a great job. It's okay, but it is bashing about, and obviously that's not good. The other thing you can hear is something sounding really bad from underneath the deck. Now that is actually more than likely there's a little gear, intermediate gear on the lacing mechanism, or the mode select then mechanism through the belts, and it's probably that's running dry, so that's fine. We can look at that, but what I really want to know is what playback's like. So you can hear that pulley is really noisy. Yes. So I've just put in a pre-recorded cassette. Obviously I can't play much of this because it is it's going to get a copyright strike. But you can see just the difference with the compared to the recorded cassette from the 3V16. It's just really just so rich, and proper stereo as well. It's actually quite hot, but picture-wise, I mean, goodness, it's really good. Obviously center tracking, but furthest left, furthest right, it's really good. I mean, it's an amazing deck. Sound-wise, I mean, you can ask for more, really. It's just such a great machine. I mean, this is a great machine for getting the very best out of standard VHS cassettes, so cassettes that are recorded without hi-fi stereo. So yeah, I mean, I can see why these are really sought after, to be honest, and yeah, and of course it has got the NTSC as well. But yeah, so belts are about to be ordered, and the idler from Domburg in Ireland. It's Christmas now, so I'm not going to get them probably for a couple of weeks, to be fair. So this will be a part 2, sorting out the deck, getting rid of the noise from the mechanism there, and putting the belts on. New idler is knocking about still. That idler tire is actually fine. It's sort of, it's not rubber. It's a sort of foamy, plasticized type of thing, like a high hours type of idler there. So the actual idler tire needs to be replaced. That's cool. Found one. Yeah, so with that, Merry Christmas. Thank you very much for all the support during 2022. Much appreciated. Hope you've enjoyed all these videos. And do please like and subscribe as well. It means so much to me. It really does help the channel, helps things move forward. I want to make sort of more creative videos as well, not just me pointing a camera at a machine and talking to you. Want to have some fun with this kit as well and share it with you. So with that, thank you very much for watching, and see you in another video. Bye for now.